You're standing on the lot, keys already in your hand, and that big American truck looks absolutely perfect. Chrome shining, fresh paint, that deep V8 idle you can feel in your chest. But under that hood might be the exact engine I have watched drain people's savings accounts dry. 3 trucks I would never let my own brother buy. 4 I would bet my whole toolbox on. I have spent more than 30 years under these machines, and I have watched the same failures crawl into my bay again and again while the owners begged me to tell them it wasn't serious. Stick with me all the way to the end, because I am going to hand you one overlooked work truck, a plain V8 that skips the single cheap part that is killing these engines, and it costs almost nothing while it outlives trucks that sticker for twice the money. Buying new, buying used, or already sitting in your driveway wondering if you made a mistake. This is for you. Let me start with the one that still makes me wince, because I have unbolted more of these than I can count, and every single time the owner had no idea what they were sitting on. There is a diesel truck out there that people still chase because they think diesel automatically means bulletproof. It doesn't. Not this one. I am talking about the 6.0 liter Power Stroke diesel that showed up in heavy-duty trucks from 2003 through 2007. On paper, it was strong, big torque, great sound, the kind of truck a man buys thinking it is the last truck he will ever need. And that reputation is exactly what makes it so dangerous, because the truth is buried under all that muscle. Here is what I saw over and over in my bay. The head bolts on that engine were simply too weak for the pressure that motor made. Under load, they would stretch, the cylinder heads would lift just enough to push out the head gaskets, and suddenly coolant is going places coolant should never go. The owner comes in complaining about white smoke, or the truck overheating, pulling a trailer, or coolant just disappearing with no puddle on the driveway. And when I told them what it was, I watched their faces drop, because fixing it right is not cheap. To do that head gasket job correctly, you pull the cab clean off the frame, and you replace those weak factory bolts with a set of stronger aftermarket studs. Done properly, with the studs, the injectors inspected, and everything the shop guys call bulletproofing, you are looking at anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 on a used truck that might have cost them $15,000. And it doesn't stop at the head gaskets. That engine had an oil cooler that clogs, an exhaust gas recirculation cooler that cracks and dumps coolant into the intake, and fuel injectors that fail one after another at around $2,500 a round. I had one gentleman, a rancher, who put nearly $11,000 into a truck over 18 months. He told me he wished anybody, had warned him before he signed. That sentence has stuck with me for years, and honestly, it is a big part of why I am talking to you right now. So here is your takeaway on that one. If you are shopping any heavy-duty diesel from that era and someone is pushing that 6.0 liter on you, you walk away, or you demand proof. It has already been studied and updated with paperwork to show it. No proof, no deal, because a cheap price on that truck is not a deal. It is a down payment on a rebuild. But a bad diesel is at least a truck people are nervous about. The next one hurts worse because it hides inside the most popular, most trusted gas V8 in the country, and almost nobody sees it coming. I am talking about the 5.3 liter V8 that has powered millions of half-ton trucks and SUVs. Now, that engine family itself is not junk, but starting around 2007, a fuel-saving system got bolted onto it, and that system is where the heartbreak lives. The idea was to shut off 4 of the 8 cylinders when you are just cruising to save a little fuel. Sounds smart. In the real world, it created 2 failures I have watched break people financially. The first is oil consumption. That cylinder deactivation system, combined with a certain oil control valve and the piston rings they used, causes these engines to burn oil like a 2-stroke lawnmower. Not leak it, burn it. The owner never sees a drop on the garage floor, so they never check, and then the low oil light comes on, or worse, it doesn't, and the engine starts eating itself from the inside. I've measured trucks burning a quart every 800 to 1,000 miles, and the owner had no clue. The second failure is worse. The lifters that ride on that deactivation system collapse. When one goes, you get a nasty tick, then a misfire. Then if the debris travels, it wipes out the camshaft. I have had these trucks towed in dead. A lifter and cam job on that engine done right runs you $2,500 to $4,000. And if it grenaded and took the whole top end, you are staring at even more. And these are not old trucks. I have seen it on trucks with well under 100,000 miles. Now stay with me, because this is the part I promised, and it is specifically for you if you already own one of these and your stomach just dropped. If you have one of these trucks in your driveway right now, do not panic and do not run out and trade it in a fright sale where you lose your shirt. There are things you can do this weekend in your own driveway with almost no money that can save this engine. First, and I mean this, check your oil every single time you fill up with fuel. Every time. Pull the dipstick, wipe it, read it. If you are down more than half a quart between fill-ups, you have the burn, and now you know before it kills you. Second, run the correct oil weight the manual calls for, and do not stretch your oil changes. That deactivation system relies on clean oil pressure to work, and dirty, low oil is what collapses those lifters. Third, listen at a cold start with the hood up. A ticking that fades after a few seconds is oil-related and a warning shot. A tick that stays is a lifter going, and that is your signal to get ahead of it before the camshaft is involved. And here is the insider move the dealership will never tell you. There are small, inexpensive devices and tuners that keep that fuel-saving system from ever activating, locking the engine in full 8-cylinder mode. Mechanics have been quietly installing these for years, because a system that never switches off those cylinders can never collapse those lifters. That is a couple $100 of prevention against a $4,000 repair. If that is you, breathe and go do that this weekend. Now, why does an engine that millions of people trust have a flaw this predictable? Hold that thought, because we are getting to the part that is going to make you angry. Because here is what nobody said out loud on that lot. That fuel saving system was never really about saving you money at the pump. The fuel it saves you over a year would not buy you a decent dinner. It existed to help the company hit government fuel economy targets on paper, to squeak the number up just enough to avoid penalties. So the engineers bolted a system onto a perfectly good V8 that made the number look better in a lab. And the long-term cost of that decision, the collapsed lifters and the burned oil and the $4,000 repairs that got quietly handed to you. You were never the customer they were trying to please. With that part, you were just the one holding the bill when it broke. Once you understand that, you start to see it everywhere. And that brings me to the third truck I would not let my brother buy, because it is the same story wearing a different badge. There is a beloved American V8, one with a name that makes people grin, that has been dropped into half-ton trucks for years. Folks love the sound, love the heritage, but that engine also got saddled with a cylinder deactivation system, and it has been failing the exact same way. Lifters and camshaft, I started seeing a wave of these come in with a ticket idle, then a check engine light for a misfire on a specific cylinder, and by the time some of them reached me, the camshaft lobe was already flattened. The repair is not gentle either. Because of how that engine is built, getting to the camshaft and lifters is real labor, and a proper job with parts lands right in that $4,000 to $7,000 range on a truck people bought precisely because they thought it was the tough, old school, dependable choice. What makes me shake my head is that the failure is so consistent that entire forums exist just for owners comparing notes on when their tick started. When thousands of people are all describing the identical noise at the identical mileage, that is not bad luck. That is a design that was known to be fragile and sold anyway. If you are shopping one of these, listen carefully at a cold start, ask for records showing whether the lifters have already been addressed, and know that the deactivation delete is your friend on this platform too. A truck that has already had the failure repaired and the system disabled can actually be a good buy. A truck that is ticking and cheap is a trap with your name on it. So that is the three I would steer you clear of. Now, let me flip this all the way around, because you did not click this to walk away scared of every truck on the road. You clicked because you want to know which ones are actually worth your hard-earned money. And there are American trucks I would put my own name behind without blinking. Let me start with a gas V8 that restored my faith after all those deactivation nightmares. It is the 5.0 liter V8 you will find in the most popular half-ton in America across most of the last decade or so. Now, here is the beautiful part, and it is the whole reason I trust it. In its truck form, that engine was built to just run. It is a stout, high-revving V8 with a timing setup and a bottom end that takes abuse and keeps going. I have watched these cross 200,000 miles doing nothing but oil changes, plugs, and the normal wear items. No collapse lifters wiping out camshafts. No burning a cord every 1,000 miles by design. You've just seen how one cheap part can quietly turn a trusted truck into a money pit that eats your savings for years. That gut drop moment on the lot, when you don't know what's hiding under the hood, is exactly what my collection, the complete lemon-proof bundle, was built to kill for good. Inside, you get the reliability matrix that separates hype from hard data, the exact engines and transmissions to avoid by model year and family, and the truck buyer's specific checklist with 6 simple go or no-go criteria you run before you shake a single hand. It even shows you how to read NHTS, a complaint data, the way a safety engineer does, so you catch a bad engine family before it ever catches you. And here is a test you can run for free tonight, right from your recliner. Pull up the free public complaint database, type in any truck you are eyeing, and watch the same failures I described pile up in black and white. That is the receipts, not forum hearsay, not dealer spin. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And this matters no matter when you are watching, because the next truck you buy is coming whether you are ready or not, and the repair bill on the wrong one is already running the day you sign. Now, why does an engine that millions of people trust have a flaw this predictable? Let me show you. Are they perfect? No engine is, and I will always shoot straight with you. Some years had an oil pan gasket that could weep, and certain early versions could get a little rattle from the timing components if oil changes got neglected. But those are minor, well understood, and cheap next to what we just talked about. When somebody rolls in with that 5.0 and a real problem, 9 times out of 10, it traces back to somebody skipping maintenance, not the engine being born broken. If you want a half-ton you can actually keep for 15 years, that is a truck I will point you toward every single time. Buy the V8, change the oil on schedule, and it will quietly outlast your patience for it. But a good half-ton is only part of the picture, because a lot of you need a truck that actually works for a living, and that raises a harder question. What do you buy when you need real muscle and you have watched diesels bankrupt people? Here is my answer, and it surprised a lot of my own customers. There is a big gas 5.8, a 7.3 liter that started showing up in the heavy-duty trucks around 2020. The guys at the shop nicknamed it after a certain giant movie monster because of how simple and stout it is, and that nickname is a compliment. This is old-school engineering on purpose. A big, honest pushrod V8 with none of the fragile fuel-saving nonsense, built to make torque and take a beating. Now, let me address the fear right up front, because I know what you were thinking. You need to tow, and everybody told you that means diesel. Here is the truth from under the hood. A modern diesel in a heavy-duty truck is a wonderful thing when it is healthy, but the repair bills when it is not are brutal, and the emissions equipment on the newer ones adds thousands more in potential failures. That big gas V8 sidesteps almost all of it. No expensive high-pressure fuel system to fail, no fragile emissions, parts that strand you. Yes, you will spend a little more on fuel, but you will save a fortune the first time your neighbor's diesel needs an emissions repair that costs more than your last 3 car payments combined. For a lot of people who tow on weekends and want to sleep at night, that gas V8 heavy duty is the smartest truck on the road right now, and it is still new enough that you can buy one used with plenty of life left. But let me get to a truck brand you might not expect me to praise, because they built one of my worst list engines, and yet they also quietly build something I trust a lot. Inside that same family of half-ton trucks, there is a plain V6 engine, a 3.6 liter that has been the base motor for years, and it is a genuinely good, honest engine. No cylinder deactivation, drama tearing up camshafts, no burning oil by design. It is not exciting, and it will not win you any stoplight races, but it will start every morning and carry you past 200,000 miles with basic care. I have watched fleet versions of these get flogged mercilessly and just keep going. If you want a affordable, dependable truck and you do not need to tow heavy, skipping the fancy engines and buying the plain V6 version is one of the smartest money moves I can show you. The boring choice is very often the one that never leaves you stranded, and I will take boring and running over, exciting and broken every day of the week. And that idea, boring and unbreakable, is exactly what leads me to the fourth truck I trust and to the secret I have been saving for you this whole time. Because let me put a real workhorse on your radar that most buyers overlook completely. There is a 6-liter Vortec V8, the big brother in that same GM V8 family, that went into the heavier duty trucks. And here is the key. In most of the applications I care about, that engine did not carry the little half-ton fuel-saving system that destroyed the smaller motor. It was built to work. I have seen these 6-liter trucks cross 300,000 miles hauling and towing with nothing but regular maintenance, and they are still out there earning a living every day. If you find a clean one, that is a truck that will bury you before it quits. It is the proof that the same company can build a killer and a keeper, and the difference is often just which cheap parts they chose to leave off. Now lean in, because this is the one I promised you at the very start. This is the buried gem, the one the marketing never sold you, the one the guys who actually know these engines have been quietly buying for themselves for years. For a long time, I kept noticing something in my own bay. The plainest, cheapest, least loved work trucks from a certain era just never died. No collapse lifters, no burned oil, no $4,000 top-end jobs. And I finally sat down and figured out exactly why. In the half-ton trucks, from roughly 2009 through 2013, there were two V8 choices. There was the popular 5.3 liter, the one with the fuel-saving cylinder deactivation system, the one I have watched eat its own camshaft, and then there was a smaller, humbler 4.8 liter V8, the base work truck engine, the one that came in the stripped-down regular cabs that fleets and contractors bought by the thousands. Here is the secret that almost nobody talks about. That 4.8 liter did not get the cylinder deactivation system. It never had it, which means it physically cannot fail the way its more popular brother fails. The single most expensive, most common failure on that whole engine family simply does not exist on the 4.8 because the part that causes it was never bolted on. I went back through reliability complaint databases and owner reports to make sure I was not imagining it, and the pattern is undeniable. The engine everyone paid extra for, the bigger, more powerful 5.3, is the one that grenades. The plain little 4.8 that nobody bragged about is the one that quietly hits 300,000 miles. Think about what that means for you. Right now, on used lots and in classified ads all over the country, there are these plain regular cab work trucks with the 4.8 liter V8, and they sell for less than the fancier ones because they are not glamorous. No leather, no badges people brag about, just a bulletproof V8 that skips the exact flaw that bankrupts the popular version. That is a truck you can buy cheap, drive for a decade, and never once fear the tick I told you about. The truth was there the whole time, hidden in plain sight under a work truck hood, buried because nobody makes big money selling you the stripped-down base model, but now you know it. Now you can walk onto that lot looking for the very truck everybody else overlooks and drive home the one that outlasts them all. And once you see that pattern, you cannot unsee it, and it changes how you shop forever. The most expensive version is not automatically the most reliable. The heaviest advertised engine is not automatically the toughest. Very often the plainest, cheapest, Least hyped option is the one built without the fragile part they added to chase a number on a government sheet. The fancy features and the clever systems are frequently the very things that fail, and the people who profit from you buying the loaded, complicated version are never going to be the ones standing next to you paying the repair bill 3 years later. That is always you. That is always your driveway. So let me tie a bow on everything I have laid in front of you, because I do not want you to walk away with a head full of scary engine codes. I want you to walk away with a plan. If you are shopping used and you see that 6.0 liter diesel from 2003 through 2007, you get proof it has been studded and updated, or you keep walking. If you are looking at that popular half-ton V8 with the cylinder deactivation system, you check that oil consumption obsessively, you listen for the cold start tick, and you strongly consider disabling that fuel-saving system. If you love that famous American V8 with the great name, you make sure the lifters are healthy or already fixed before you fall for the sound. And when you want something you can actually trust, you look at that 5.0 liter half ton, that 7.3 liter gas heavy duty, that plain and honest V6, that stout 6 liter Vortec, and above all, that overlooked 4.8 liter work truck that skips the failure entirely. Here is the feeling I want you to leave with, because it matters more than any engine code. You almost got sold a truck that would have owned you instead of the other way around. You almost signed for the shiny one and spent the next 3 years feeding it repair bills while somebody somewhere counted the money you handed over for a part that was designed to make a number look good, not to make your life better. But you did not. You stopped. You listened to a guy who has scraped this stuff off his hands for 30 years, and now you know what to look for before the ink is dry. That is not luck. That is you refusing to be the sucker on the lot. And I respect the daylights out of that. So let me ask you something straight, and I actually want your answer. Which one are you sitting on right now, or which one are you circling on that lot? Is it that 5.3 liter with the deactivation system that is keeping you up at night? Is it a diesel you are scared to trust? Or did I just talk you into hunting down one of those plain 4.8 liter work trucks? Drop it in the comments right now and tell me exactly what you drive, what is worrying you, and where in the country you are watching from. I read these and I answer the ones I can, because the whole point of this is that you do not have to figure it out alone. If you have made it this far, you are already the kind of driver who refuses to get burned, who wants the honest truth instead of the sales pitch, and that is exactly the crowd I am building here. Stick around with us, because we look out for each other and we do not let each other get sold lemons. And keep an eye out for what is coming next, because I am about to break down the exact 10-point automatic transmission that is shuttering its way into my bay on some of these newer trucks, and the simple fluid check that tells you in 5 minutes whether the one you are looking at is about to cost you $3,000. You are going to want to see that one before you sign anything. Until then, check your oil, trust the plain truck over the fancy one, and do not let anybody rush you off that lot before you are ready. Before you go, let me tell you where this really pays off. Inside the Garage Bench Club, I walk you through the full buyer's checklist for every truck I named, and you can ask me your own truck question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You're not doing this alone. So many buyers like you are already in there with me. Just point your phone at the code on screen, cancel anytime, one click. Now, before you spend $1 on any truck, there's something you really need to see. I'll show you the ones that lost the most value this past year so you don't lose your hard-earned money. It's starting right here.